right, 9mm 357 Magnum. How do they really compare to each other? And I've been waiting for a long time to get a 9mm pistol that has almost equal barrel travel to a 4-inch revolver. A couple of reasons for that. Basically, a 5-inch pistol and a 4-inch revolver is your typical longest barrel lengths when it comes to military, police, possibly concealed carry. It's the longest practical barrel length. So most of your information on 357 Magnum is in 4-inch barrels, and a lot of your information on 9mm is in 5-inch barrels. The revolver is going to have just a hair more bullet travel because we have a 4-inch barrel and just a little bit in the chamber here. 5-inch barrel minus the over length of the 9mm, we're talking more like 3.9 inches, something like that. However, we have about a 5% velocity lost in a cylinder gap. So the way I see it is they're relatively fair to each other to use these two. And what I have for ammunition today is I have the HST 124 grain plus P Federal HST 9mm. Arguably one of the best rounds ever made. And to compare that to the 357, I'm going to have to use the Hydrashok. There's not an HST in 357 Magnum because, you know, HST is kind of like a law enforcement round, so they're really putting their technology into stuff that's going to be used by law enforcement. But often people say that the HST actually stands for Hydrashok 2 or Hydrashok technology. How true that is, I don't really know. So we're going to go through our chronograph anyways, see what kind of velocity and accuracy we get at the same time. And if you might notice, we have another target over here. I'm also going to do a practical, kind of a tactical, practical, multiple attacker scenario, and see, which, handgun can be a little bit better maybe. And we're also going to do our ballistic test here, and what we have is our 1 3/4 inch pack of bologna covered by 4 layers of denim, followed by a 1/4 inch medium density fiberboard that kind of represents about a pectoral muscle, followed by sternum, and into water jugs to catch these bullets. And typically, back of jug 3 typically indicates about where a bullet would stop if it was ballistics gel. That's not exact, but it's really close, and it's a cheap, easy way for me to do these ballistic tests. So let's get started with the test between 9mm and 357 Magnum and see how they really compare to each other when we use decent ammunition. All right, I'm about 5 yards from the target and chronograph. First up, we have the HST 9mm. This happens to be rated at 1200 feet per second on the box, so we'll see how close we get to 1200 in this particular pistol. I was getting less than that in my 4-inch barrel, so hopefully when we hit 1200. $12.65, $12.62, $12.86, $12.67, $12.75, definitely faster than rate of velocity. Very powerful round. My first shot, I kind of pulled those first couple of shots because I'm getting used to this pistol. It's got a lot lighter trigger pull than I'm used to. Let's see how that 357 compares. All right, 357 Magnum. This happens to be rated at 1240 feet per second. We'll see how close we get to 1240. $12.38, $12.91, $12.89, $12.63, $12.75. So just like the 9mm, a little bit faster than rate of velocity. Really good performance with these rounds as far as velocity goes. Now let's hit the ballistic box and see how these two compare to each other. All right, first up we have the 9mm, and we'll see how this does. Definitely a lot of damage. Bologna pack is behind me, that's a good sign. Let's see what we got and what kind of damage we got. All right, here's our impact. And this did a lot of damage. That is more than most 9mm plus P rounds. That's pretty extensive. Fiberboard is in the box here. And what we can definitely tell from this is where it impacted the fiberboard after going through the bologna pack. It's already starting to expand. That looks about like 1.5 times expansion already. Looks pretty nice. Our first water jug has a lot of damage. That's pretty good. That's about what you expect with most 9mm+P rounds, maybe a little bit better. Impact on 2. Got a nice large hole out the back of 2. I can see the bullet in 3. Now I don't feel any dents out the back, so this is going to indicate probably about 14 inches comparison to ballistics gel. And we got perfect HST flowering. Pretty much what you would expect from an HST. Basically, the way that the HSTs are bonded is there's like a cantilever around the jacket. So it's actually a thick jacket, unlike a gold dot or something that's kind of like a plating. So it's mechanically bonded, which definitely has its advantages because those petals are really, really thick copper, and I could definitely see how that could do more cutting than just a plated jacket. Very, very nice. Let's see how that 357 mag compares. All right, next up we have the 357 mag. Unlike the 9mm, this is not a bonded bullet. So we'll see what this does. Definitely more damage to that first water jug than the 9mm. All right, here's our baloney pack with the 357 Magnum. I can't necessarily say it looks like there's more damage than the 9mm, but definitely as good. So let's look for that fiberboard and see what we got in water jugs. All right, here is our fiberboard where it impacted, and right here there's actually a petal. Interesting, I was already breaking off a petal as it hit this. And coming out the back, not quite as big a hole as that HST. So it might be starting to shed that jacket already. So let's see what we got in water jugs. All right, our first jug is different. Instead of the front splitting, the back split. Very interesting. A little bit more damage to jug 2 than the 9mm. We actually have a piece of lead coming out the back of jug 2. Interesting. This is kind of fragmenting a little. Impact in 3 deviated a little bit to the left. Impact in 4, we have a slice out the back of 4. Big dent in 5, that's going to indicate a solid 18 to 19 inches comparison to ballistics gel. And in 4, all I have is the jacket, so the core is probably in the box. I'm going to look for that. All right, that lead core is kind of a mystery. All I found was this jacket. There was a lot of fragments of lead in the box. It hit jug 5 and it kind of bounced off, went around, impacted jug 6, went all the way through jug 6, must have hit the backstop. I felt around for 10 minutes. I didn't find any core in that backstop, but there was even more lead fragments all up and down that box. So looks like most of that core just exploded into a lot of little pieces. So definitely very interesting that that's all we got, and we can definitely see here this is not bonded. The base does not have any cantilever around that to bond it in place. So did it necessarily do worse? I would say no. It's just that we don't really have a lot to look at after the fact. So let's move on to the practical accuracy part of this test. It's going to be kind of a really fun, interesting test, just to kind of see, you know, what can really be accomplished with these two platforms. Now on to the practical accuracy part of this test. I have 2 targets. They're about 4 feet apart, 5 feet apart from 7 yards, and this is going to kind of simulate multiple attackers. And a lot of people will say, well, the 9mm is high capacity, therefore it's absolutely the winner. But we have to really look at statistical data and see what the averages actually are. Because if you say all 17 rounds is better than 6, but if we actually look at the statistical data that your average shots fired in self-defense is 3, and then we look at, let's say, 2 attackers, well, then your average would be 6, and the statistical chance of being attacked by 1 person is pretty low. 2 people will be even lower than that. And the whole thought here is that if you have a revolver and you're a little bit more reliable. Each round is a little bit more powerful. That needs to be kind of taken into consideration, considering the fact that our averages typically never go beyond a revolver's capacity. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit target 1 on my right here with 2 shots to the body. Go back to target 2, 2 shots to the body. And then we'll just assume that, let's say, attacker 1 is still coming. 1 shot to the head. Back to attacker 2. 1 shot to the head. That leaves us with 6 rounds per platform here. And so our ammunition used today is our Federal target ammo. This is 115 grain at 1150 feet per second. Definitely a little bit lighter load. And then my 357 is my 125 grain Spear Gold Dot hand loads. These are about 1250 feet per second. So again, a little bit of lightened load, but you know, our practical recoil is going to be about the same. So let's see what I can do with these 2 platforms. All right, first up we have the 9mm. I'll do 2 shots to the body, move over 2 shots to the body, and then do our headshots. And see how quick I can do this with this M&P pistol. Yeah, it does look like I made those hits. Let's see how the Revolver compares. And our practical recoil should be similar because this gun is a little bit heavier. So even though our rounds are 9 grains heavier and we are shooting 100 feet per second faster, the gun's also heavier. So we'll see what I can do with this. All right, a little bit slower for me, but the practical difference, I am not really seeing it. So, yeah, very interesting overall between the 2 of these. So, 9mm versus 357 Magnum. Is the 9mm as powerful, and does it rival it? No, not even close, to be honest. If we take a snub nose barrel and we compare it to like a 3.5 inch pistol barrel or a 4-inch pistol barrel, and you use the hottest possible round for 9mm and you use the worst possible 357 Magnum round, that's kind of sad to be called a 357, like PMC or something like that. Well, then yeah, you can say, oh, look, at 9mm rivals 357 Magnum. But when you use legitimate ammo with the legitimate brands like I'm doing today, that's why I'm using these 2. What do you see? 357, definitely a lot more powerful. And it's definitely going to be more reliable, all in all. But, you know, our practical self-defense use, I really can't say that the Revolver 100% would do a better job necessarily. Our statistical data with 1-shot stops with a lot of the 357 Magnum rounds do show, you know, 96% 1-shot stop. But while that's being said, some of our 9mm+P rounds on these data charts are like 90%. So, yeah, both will work for sure, but take it for what it is. Tell me what you think. So as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching.